available to us in the future. Let's see. And I'll be clicking in folks as they come in. Well, welcome to the February 22nd meeting. Glad you guys could all be with us, and we will, like I said, I'll be clicking in folks as they come in. We may have a very light agenda depending on who actually shows up today, but we still have some reports on that we need to get. So with that, I'll give you my official welcome. Let's see. That's not on yet. So it doesn't sound like we're gonna. It sounded like we were gonna have. She had a last minute change of plans for today. I don't know if maybe Chris, you want to elaborate on that?
Oh, she's not going to speak. Well, there's Stephen.
Let's see.
Yeah, so she had to cancel, and our hope is that Louis will be here soon. Louis Duran from CARA. So he's eager to speak today. So that's what's up here.
Oh, that's too bad.
But here's Marta. So I guess Louis can't be far behind.
No, he's close by.
So yeah, unfortunately, we heard tonight that Jeanette had to cancel, and so we couldn't find a last minute replacement. But we did have Louis on the calendar for later on today under new business.
Oh, you want to split a leg?
But I was hoping that maybe Jeanette had someone else that could come in her place.
Yeah, I'll have a little bit of it. Maybe.
Talk about her program, but it doesn't seem like that's going to happen.
It's just, I know
that way.
So I'm going to go ahead and put everyone on mute just to control some of the background noise. Okay. So yeah, so that was the goal, that maybe we would have someone else in her place, but we'll look to reschedule her, because I think the program was going to be of interest to many of us, and instead we'll try to get it back on the calendar as soon as possible. But there are a lot of things that are happening with the club that we wanted to address during our business meeting. First of all, let's go ahead and make sure that everyone received a copy of the agenda, or received the email of the agenda and minutes. Were there any questions on the agenda for today, except for our non-program? You could raise your hand or use the hand feature on the underneath. Is it under reactions? Or you could unmute yourself if you have a question. With that, is there an approval for the agenda today? I see Merrill, seconded by Carol. All right, all those in favor say aye, or wave your hands, or perfect. Those who are not in favor, go ahead and shake your head, and no, we're good. Also, I hope you had a chance to read the minutes from January 25th. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Andy, seconded by Merrill, and all those in favor say aye, or wave high. There we go. All right, so the club is undergoing so let's just jump into the president's report and the other reports as well. Over the last few months, and actually probably when we started doing the endorsements at during the last election, so about in November, we really had some hiccups as we were trying to go through the endorsement process, and it really prompted us to look at and evaluate our bylaws and then other things that we're doing with the club in terms of like the direction and just really take this as an opportunity to see where we're at as a club and look at where we want to be and what direction we want to go in. And so we wanted to go through an exercise and a process where we start fixing some of the bylaws issues that have been that we haven't touched in many years, but then also start looking at some of the direction and some of the things that we emphasize at the club. And we've been doing it, we've been setting the agenda up through the executive committee, but there's an opportunity to really get as much involvement from the club members, from all of us in the process. So I don't know if Meryl, if you wanted to add more on that aspect of it and some of the outlines of what we've been talking about and engaging.
Yeah, I have written a draft and it's largely approved, I think, by the executive board for the preamble for this. And I'm writing this the next section now. What we're intending to do is taking sort of a survey of club members on some of the issues to find out what you as members think about this and that issue and so forth. So very, very soon it's going to be coming out. The executive board will be having a special meeting dedicated to general review of our projects and programs on Saturday, March 13th. So the information that I send out asking for your response on various questions will be out very soon so that you have an opportunity to study it and read it and get responses back in. And we can sort of analyze them prior to the 13th. So expect that in your email coming very soon.
So yeah, we'll dedicate our next two executive committees that are the special meeting, as Meryl said, on the 13th at 9 a.m., Saturday, 9 a.m. And then the following Saturday as well, the 20th at 9 a.m. as well to address this. But again, there's no rush to try to get it all done at one time. We really do want to take our time. And as someone pointed out, there's people that have been with the club for many years and they don't recall us ever doing something like that. So, there's so many changes and so many things that are happening at the local level with the districting and the way the elections are being put out. And then even like some of the things where as a club, we didn't get as involved with the ADEM elections, for example, and so we want to make sure that we're expressing the viewpoints of our club and just becoming more engaged on those things if that's the direction that we want to go in. So I hope that
this solicitation of opinions is not going to come all in one bunch. I am preparing the first bunch of things and we will see what happens then. And then I will do another one after that. I'm not sure when that's going to happen, but the first one will be out soon and it is only the first one.
Yeah, can I maybe make a couple more comments about this? If I understand it, and other people on the board correct me, but I think what we're trying to do is get a sense of how we want to get involved and where we want to get involved as a club. The political activity in town is heating up in a variety of directions. There's obviously been a lot of discussion in town involving the police commission and the school board of education about the role of the police in town. We're seeing LA just decided to cut its budget on police in the schools by about $200,000 and use that money for other purposes and so forth. That whole topic is coming up in Claremont. We are under a great deal more pressure, when I say we, the city, with regard to housing. It used to be that the central authorities in the state would pass out sort of guidelines for how much housing you should build at different levels of affordability, low cost, medium, market price, and so forth. That's changed. We used to have development money. We don't have it anymore. But at the same time, we're being told either you start building this damn housing or we're going to take money away from you. And you're not going to be eligible for all sorts of state funds if you don't get around to building housing. We have to build housing. We have a shortage of housing in California and it has to be addressed, and every single town has to get involved with this. So there's a whole different tone about housing. And That raises a lot of questions. Just to give you one idea of this, if we're going to build housing, one can argue that we do not need 2,500 square feet housing for families with 4 kids. We need housing for seniors who want to downsize. We need housing for young people who are just starting families. We need housing for students who are graduating from college and would like to stay here and live here. You know, there's a whole different sense of the nature of housing we build and how that gets determined. Do we want to get involved in that discussion as a club? We now have district elections, and that's going to be very different in terms of city council and how those elections are conducted and how intensely they're conducted. And I think there's a whole new generation of people in town, some of whom have been here forever, but they're getting older and they're getting involved. Claremont Change with the young people who we honored a couple months ago are involved with this, but we see other ramifications to this. What role do we want to play in city elections? Are we still going to endorse? Are we not going to endorse? Some people have said to us, well, your endorsements aren't worth very much. You endorse and then you take out an ad in the Courier. Good luck. What else are you going to do for us? Are you really serious? Is the Democratic Club really going to get involved in local politics? And this doesn't even begin to talk about county politics, state politics and the national politics. So there's a sense that things are heating up in a variety of different dimensions. And some of the questions is, are we going to get involved? Are we not going to get involved? How are we going to get involved? And so, I think, at least in my mind, that's part of what we're trying to get into.
And yes, and thank you, Andy, for that. And there'll be a lot more specifics on the issues that we'll get engaged in as we move forward. But I definitely, one of the key things that Andy brought up is the issue of involvement, like Andy said, the Claremont Change folks, and we've been wanting to get more young people and that are very engaged and have become very engaged in all politics over the last year. And so how do we use that energy, if we want, into in our club? So those are all things that we want to hash out, and we really want your involvement in that process. And I think it's a great opportunity to use what's this great saying about never waste a crisis? Well, right now, while we have a little bit of time on our hands, we could maybe use this opportunity to reboot ourselves. And one other thing that Andy brought up that it transitions really nicely into money and the money for the club. And in fact, Carol has also been using this opportunity to look at where our finances are, where we want to go, and what kind of shape, what trajectory are we going in. So Carol, if you want to give the treasurer's update, and then and some ideas for how we're going to approach that in the next, in the thinking for this planning. You're on mute right now. There we go.
While she's unmuting, maybe we can plan for the next time we can all get together and pass the Roosevelts.
Speaking of Roosevelt's, that would be the dues too. So do you wanted me to talk about the 5-year plan?
If you maybe the highlights of it and where we're at right now as well.
Okay, right now, let's do that first because it's simpler. The balance right now is 7,773, and pretty much everything we've had that we expected. Some of the big things that we had last month and even before that have been paid. That was the biggest things that we've had lately are payments to the Claremont Courier for ads that we put in. The earlier ad in, I didn't pay it in October or whenever we had the election in November, but there was a big ad that we put in then, or 2 ads then. And then also we had an ad for the ADAM last month. So those are all paid. The only thing coming up that I can think of offhand is that our charter is due. And we have $100 to pay for that. So that's pretty much not any unusual expenses coming up. The group had asked me to make a analysis or show our expenses and income that we've had for the last 5 years, kind of in a preliminary preparation to figuring out a budget for the future. So I've got most of that done. I've got 4 years of analysis done so far, and I didn't bring it today to show it. So in fact, I haven't figured out how to do that again yet. But at any rate, so that's part of our program, or part of our plan, to figure out where we spend the most money, and basically that determines how much more money we need. So far, we've been pretty much balanced all the time. But if we decide we want to spend more on publicity or donations to politics, we usually only donate to the politicians every couple of years. So at least we'll have we never really plan it. So this way we'll have a good plan.
Very good. Yeah, and that's
Can
exactly
I raise another issue on that one?
Sure, Andy.
Yeah, I think we're also having some discussion with regard to dues structure. Right now, there's a dues for individuals and then for families. There's also something called lifetime dues. And the question is what, should we have them? What should be the level of lifetime dues? Because it basically means you pay a little bit more once, but then we don't get any income at all ever again. And is that a wise thing? An alternative that Act Blue does a lot of, and all the candidates push, is they're constantly pushing you not to make a one-time donation, but to agree to a sustaining donation, $5 a month, $10 a month, whatever. We really haven't pushed that. That's not a due structure that we've used. So I think part of what we're going to be looking at and making some proposals about are maybe some alternative ways of paying dues. And obviously this has to go back. All of this has to go back to the membership to decide. It's not for the executive committee to decide, but we may want to really think about how we structure our dues and what level of money we want and what we would do with it, maybe differently than we've done before.
Very good. Absolutely. Any questions for Carol on the budget where we're at right now, and of course, as we proceed with ideas for, as we do our strategic planning of sorts, for lack of a better term, any input is also welcome. The next report, I don't know if Chris, if you got back on. Let's see, Chris he's having some internet issues. Let's see, no, it doesn't look like we got him back. Anyhow, at the end of or at the bottom of the agenda, you'll see some of the upcoming programs that we do have, including we have, let's see, I think he was able to get Mayor Sandoval, right, from Pomona?
Yeah.
For the
In March.
For the March meeting. So we'll have him at the March meeting, and hopefully we'll chain him up. We'll make sure that he's there out for the call. Again, I apologize for our presentation today. How about our VP of membership?
I guess that is newly me. And one of the things I'm trying to find out is, and I've been talking with Mike and with Carol, and I guess haven't been talking, but with Ned, who actually does the emails. So there is some questions about where are they kept, who's got them, are we keeping how do we keep track of people who are not paying dues in terms of, have they dropped out, have they moved away, should we take them off the list and stop sending out Jorge's voices, or do they want them even if they're not here? And so we may have to do some work cleaning up our membership list. The other thing is a much more important issue in a way. If we look at our membership, it's, a large percentage of our membership is quite older, much older. That makes sense. I mean, people like me are finally retired and we have time, and now we can spend more time doing this rather than other things we might have been doing. But there is a real groundswell in Claremont of younger people. And by that, I mean basically 35, 40 and younger that are getting involved in politics. If you look at the range of people who are running for office, we didn't have just one person running unopposed, which we've had in the past for city council. We had 2, 3, 4 people running for city council. And we had people that were much younger running, some people in their 20s and early 30s running, and some people that we haven't seen before running. And so there is a sense that there is more political energy involved. And are they in the club? Do they want to be in the club? How do we get them in the club? There's an issue of, what do we view the role of the Democratic Club in Claremont to be, given the fact that the age structure of the people who are being active in politics is changing a bit. There are a lot of other organizations, everything from Our Revolution, which also is meeting tonight, as a matter of fact, a bunch of other groups that are involved that came out of the Obama administration, the leadership of these clubs, and they have a national presence, and they are looking for candidates to run and support. There's a group now called, I don't remember exactly, what's something like, why not run, or why don't you run? And
Run for something.
Run for something.
Run for something, yeah.
Run for something, right. And they have identified literally a couple hundred candidates around the country, and they help train them, or fund them, help them design campaigns, and the majority of the people they chose and ran have won. There is a sense that the Democratic Party nationally and locally has really been, how should I say it? We have totally been outdone by the Republican Party. I mean, if you think about the Republican domination of many of the state legislatures and the gerrymandering and what have you, the Republicans put a lot of effort into state and local elections. And the Democratic Party, I think, is realizing that it has to do that. If we don't, we're at our peril. And I'm not saying we haven't done it at all. We have, but do we need to be doing more? And so, the question of membership, we have to think about, is it a matter that we just sit back and wait and see who sends us $40 and that's sort of it, and we send them a notice once a month or so to go to a meeting? Or do we do something more active in terms of recruiting membership and giving people different options for how they get engaged? And so, this is part of what I think we need to be talking about.
Well, I think it depends a lot on whether we give them something to do. When I opened up my office for Elizabeth Warren headquarters, we had a lot of young people there. And I went walking precinct with many of them. It was a lot of fun.
Yep.
But we had no trouble finding young people to be involved in politics when you give them something to do that they gravitate towards.
Very good. All right. Well, thank you for that, Andy. And it does sound like that comes with a lot of future planning for us. And this is exactly the phase that we're in right now. So it's perfect time to have Andy on board, and welcome to your new position here. I did see Chris come back on. Chris, we did give a quick overview of your report, but I don't know if we talked about Sandoval, but I don't know if you had anything else to add. Oops, you're on mute.
Yeah, we have Tim Sandoval coming up. We also have, let's see, Sarah Sadhwani, Professor Sarah Sadhwani on March 12th. And Janice Elliott is going to be coming later in the year. She's a city council person from Upland. And Andy is going to speak again. He's always provocative and fascinating, and we're going to nail down a date with Andy soon as well. That concludes my report.
All right, Chris, thank you. All right, how about for our corresponding secretary? Another, I would,
What happened to him?
wouldn't say newbie, but let's see.
Well, that would be me. I'm.
Yeah. Oh, there you are.
you're-
Hey, Mike, how are you? So
I-
yeah, corresponding secretary, our newest addition, another new addition to our executive committee, Mike Booz.
Well, yeah, I don't really have much to report, Sam, although I'm very grateful to have been brought on in this position, and also very thankful to Carol Lee for assistance. You know, so this is the first month, and I've got many things to figure out still. I've managed to pull off one or two minor miracles, but you know, at this point, I don't really have much to add except that, you know, if we can kind of resolve, we do have an issue. I think Andy touched on it a little bit with the email addresses and how I can take a little bit of the load off of some of you others by being able to send out information without your assistance. But so, you know, I think that things will get, I'm looking forward to, you know, getting these things under our belts and being able to be a real productive member of the team. So I guess that's all I have to say.
Well, you're always very productive, Mike, and you too will, I'm sure like all of us, appreciate all the virtues of Carol Lee and knowing how she really is the glue that keeps all of this together. So always appreciate, she makes us all look good. Thank you, Carol Lee. Thank you, Mike. Let's see, how about our issues committee? Do we have a report on that yet? Meryl, let's see, you're on
Mute. There I go. First of all, it's kind of in between things. The legislation and various things are not actually here. We're heading towards various things. Andy brought up a bunch of stuff about what we're doing, what's going to happen locally. That's hanging. As far as the state is concerned, there's likely to be the recall of Newsom is likely to have enough signatures now, it looks like. So sometime down the line, we start talking about that. As far as the national scene is concerned, well, our discussions, issues discussions, the topic of the pandemic is still number one. I mean, people are still mostly engrossed in it and all the ramifications about it. But as far as actual things going on in the national government, there is, of course, the big relief bill, which is making its way now successfully through the House, going to hit the Senate, where there's going to be the reconciliation process. The big issue there, of course, is the $15 minimum wage. Whether it will survive or not isn't right now clear. We also talk about the GOP's at war with itself and what effect that's going to have. Right now, it's beginning to look even more hopeful for the Senate races in 2022. There are 34 Senate seats up for grabs. 20 of them are Republicans. And these are many of them are in swing states where the battle between Trump and McConnell is going to be fought out. So right now, don't give up on the Senate control in the next election. And we should also be tracking HR 1, which is the for the American people, I think, or for the people. It's a major development in getting rid of lobbyists, getting rid of the influence of money in politics. It's a major thing. So those are some of the issues that are now being discussed. Things will come to a head soon, and we'll see what actually kind of action we need to take as a club. Just one last item about this. I did have a letter in the Courier last week about a claim about fraud. One of the prominent right-wing member of the Claremont community still thinks that the election was stolen and wants to institute all sorts of rigorous rules about mail-in voting. And anyway, voter suppression is the issue, not fraud. And so, well, Andy's talked about voter suppression. Look, did we publish, I think in The Voice last time I published Andy's voter suppression piece. Anyway, he's giving these things again. Let me slide then from being issues committee to the Voorhees Voice. The next issue is due out March 1st, which is next Monday. I've already started putting it together. we're going to have, there's going to be some information in there. I'd like to ask Debbie, when she talks, to address two things I'm going to skip. The role of the couple of housing bills that are making their way through the California legislature. And secondly, the results of the ADEM democratic process that we have, how many local people made it and not made it. That's all for tonight.
Thank you, Merrill. All right, with that, we'll move into our political, Louis, you have a question? You're on mute. There you go.
I'd like to ask Merrill, have you any information at all on the Trust Act? This is,
I'm sorry, Louis, what?
do you have any information at all on the Trust Act in the federal legislatures?
No, I do not.
This is a new attempt at the Bush, Simpson, etc. Attacks on Social Security. I would appreciate it if you would investigate, look into that. Right now, we're on an intensive letter writing and telephone campaign at my organization because Feinstein appears to be in favor. I think she voted initially to bring it out of committee. And this is an effort to turn the Social Security over to a committee of legislators who would then present what they would consider to be necessary fixes to Social Security. We can recall the Bush era efforts to fix Social Security. I don't certainly want to go back through that, but if need be, we have to go to war again.
Okay, thank you, Louis. I take it it is in the Senate. It's a Senate bill and it's in the Senate
I believe it is at this point.
right now. Okay, I will check it out. It's one of those things that's working its way apparently through the committee structure of the national legislature, and we have to keep tracking these things. But I hadn't followed that one. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks for that, Louis. And thank you, Merrill. And we'll go right into our political strategy report. It's Debbie, you want to update us on and Merrill already kind of kicked you off with some of the things he was asking.
Yes, there are two bills currently. Anthony Portantino's bill, these are all housing related, SB 15, and that was submitted December 7th, 2020. And then Miguel Santiago, assembly member from East LA area, he submitted this as just this Friday. So there's a lot of people reading and trying to figure out what one says over the other. That bill is AB 1068. One of the things that I've found in talking to a few folks is that Anthony's bill does not specifically drive the amount of and define affordable housing as opposed to Santiago's bill. So we're trying to, and I've got some questions out there that I have pending on, okay, so if you support both, will the deficiency, and I don't want to use, deficiency is not the right word. The part in Portantino's bill that is not talking about affordable housing, will Santiago's bill supplement it? And that's where I'm trying to get an answer on. But what both of them do look at is permanent, they're looking at adaptive reuse, which means, okay, so you have a commercial property that's empty and it's been empty. Why not use that for housing folks? And that's where we're looking at, which makes good sense. But at the same time, you need to know if these developers are getting paid a certain amount and getting grant money, what is going to be the percentage of the, to do permanent supportive housing for the unhoused community. So that's the question. And I hope, as I said, since this just came in on Friday, I'm still doing some analysis and trying to get some folks to give me some responses. You should see my text messages flying as it has been.
Will you talk, do you want to talk about the ADEM?
That's where I'm going next. First off, there were 170,000
Wow.
registered voters for ADEMS. Those are people that registered to vote that are, that requested a ballot. Of that, for our district, it was 2,800, almost 2,900 people pulled ballots. And I lost my page, so please be patient with me while I'm going through the, to get our results. Hold that thought. Can only have some. Okay, here we go. The executive board winner was Tina Frederick. She's out of Pasadena. Great. She's just recently elected to the Pasadena School Board, and boy, she works her tail off. We have, I'm looking here, none from Claremont on the self-identified females. Bobby Nelson, who was our executive board, was re-elected to ADEMS, but Tina received more votes than he did. And he will be on ADEMS, but he will not be the executive board this time. For Claremont, Josue Barnes was elected and will represent this side of the district.
Who is on the call as well. He's here.
Oh, congratulations.
I like your new hat there,
Josue.
Josue.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Debbie, may I ask a question? I've
You
heard
certainly may.
that if Tina gets to, is going to be on the executive board, that the next person on the list will become a delegate. Is that true?
What do you mean? I'm sorry.
Tina Fredericks, she won the vote for both being an ADEM person and on the executive board. And somebody is reporting that if she chooses the executive board or whatever she gets to do, that her post will become vacant and the next.
No, that's not correct.
Okay,
No.
well, that's the rumor that's running around places.
Well, tell them they're wrong.
Okay, well, I didn't know. That's why I asked.
Yeah, Bobby was still in it. Bobby Nelson was on the executive board, but being on the executive board did not give up his spot for the ADEMS.
Okay.
I wanted to
Good.
chime in. This is Peggy Renner, and I was also
Peggy.
elected.
Were you?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was
didn't-
on the list. I was third on the list.
Yeah. There you go. Okay.
Good.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
not a
I'm
problem.
switching
Both
between.
Peggy and I wanted to thank everyone in the club for helping us and for, if they did vote for us, for their support. And let's hope that we can move forward. Thank you.
And I'm sorry, I saw Marguerite rather than Peggy. So
Right,
that's
and
why
that-
I missed it. And I
It's
know
one of
that I
those things.
should
I
have
have
known
to,
better.
I have to use my legal name, which is the one I use to register to vote, but nobody knows me by that name. So
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you so much for helping out on that.
That sounds like suppression to me. No, I'm kidding.
So
Very cool.
Josue, represent us well and congratulations.
Very good. All right. So
Can I ask
I think
A really naive question, Debbie. What does the ADEMS, that level of the party actually get involved in? What are they doing? I'm voting for people that I think I have confidence in, but I don't really have a sense of what happens at the different levels of the club, of the Democratic Party in that sense.
These are your elected representatives to convention, to the state party convention. I know Bobby has done a really good job on summarizing it. Would you like to, can you share with us as as an elected ADEM, what your role was and is still?
The principal contribution and the rationale for having the ADEM elections is to provide a grassroots gathering once a year for Democrats that the elected officials will show up to and respond to grassroots activists. So there are about 3,000 members that show up at that convention. A third of them are appointed by elected officials. A third of them are elected by the county committees, and another third are elected by the people, which is what happens in an ADEM election. So these ADEM elections are highly contested, but they are the place where elected officials show up and often get called on what a lot of grassroots activists are tracking them about. They track them on their bad votes and confront them on the convention floor. And there's a lot of good back and forth. It's a way that the elected officials are kept honest apart from the lobbyists. So I'm very glad that we got a great slate of delegates elected from the 41st Assembly District. We always do. And I'm looking forward to continuing service. That convention happens once a year. This year, the first convention will be virtual, but usually they are whole floor conventions. And the nice part about it is that the conventions is that a lot of people who aspire to high office will show up. In presidential years, almost all the presidential candidates are there, and you get to see them close at hand. In addition to the fact that we have in our own state a very important Senate seat, which I've spoken about before, we already have Alex Padilla, who got to the Senate by appointment, and it looks fairly clear from the tea leaves that Dianne Feinstein may be resigning, moving on. She served long in office, and there are aspirants to that office, some of which we should be careful to watch. One of them who aspires to that office is Adam Schiff, who many of you know. And if that happens, Adam Schiff's congressional district will open up. And that creates the possibility for people like Anthony Portantino to move into the Congress. So this is an important place where we're able to interact and meet these people. The last thing I want to say is this is not a closed meeting. Anyone can register and come as an observer to that convention. And I would encourage people who are interested in it to do that. They could contact Peggy or contact myself. We'll tell you how to get that done.
Let me add in here that there also is a day in which a lot of voting takes place. Some of it is approving the agenda or business, but there also are issues that are before us in the state. And it allows us, the voters, to register our opinion. What do we think of whatever the measure is that's been brought forward? So where that happens or what influence that has, I can't say. It's something that the elected representatives to our state assembly will look at and say, oh, well, this is what the party members said, and they may ignore it or they may pay attention to it. But it is a way in which at least our opinions are registered, and so I think that's important.
This is Deb. This also sets the party platform. This is what we stand for, and we vote on that. For instance, we worked really hard. Probably, oh my goodness, maybe as long as 5 years ago. You wouldn't know it by how quiet it is, but our party platform is against the death penalty. And you wouldn't know that necessarily by talking to a lot of our elected officials, but we work hard for that type of thing. There's also resolutions that that go forward. We also review legislation such as Portantino's bill, Santiago's bill. We've looked at some of Wiener's bills for housing, and we will vote to support or not on a lot of this legislation, and that can result in it not getting passed because they, this is, you stick your finger up in the wind and see which way the wind is blowing, and on whether it's is excuse me, on whether it's supported or not. So and also there's also rumors, rumblings of Adam Schiff coming back to California and being appointed to AG too. So that's something else that's out there too. So.
Thanks, Debbie. I know Falana also had your hand up. I think you had something you put up in the chat room.
Yeah, Mike answered the question. Thanks.
Cool. And Ivan, I know you were sharing the screen, but I know it was probably an accident, and it's a good exercise because I couldn't shut you off. So I need to figure out how to shut off the.
I was trying to share that he was with Marilyn Monroe and Adam Schiff.
Very good. All right, Debbie, is that it for your report?
I'm good now.
Thank you, Debbie. All right, we're going to now move on to our new business, which we do have Louis Duran here, and he could, I know he started talking a little bit about his program. We have Marta here too. So for those of us who would love pronouns, we could see that Louis is in Marta's seat and Marta is in Louis' seat. So very, very progressive of you guys. Also, while you guys are, well, Louis, while you're giving your presentation, I'm also going to share in the chat room just to make sure that everyone has the information regarding the web link to our meetings on Saturday morning that we talked about. So that I'll put that on there. But with that, I'd like to introduce Louis, who's always been very involved with CARA and very informative. And by the way, our dues are paid, so hopefully CARA dues are paid. But with that, Louis, look forward to giving us an update on the activities there.
All right, well, thank you for having me here and giving me the time to do this. I want to report on what we did last year. It was a very heavy year. With the virus, we had to do an awful lot of shifting. So almost all of our business was conducted virtually. We had Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting, and some of them very productive. We had a start with our voting efforts. We put out 15,000 telephone calls to seniors on the tax reform initiative that we barely lost, but we did lose, and we're trying to gear up to go at them again, because in spite of the fact that they have a whole lot of money, we have a whole lot of people. So 15,000 telephone calls were made on that proposition. We held 14 senior vote forums locally throughout the state, to which we invited local, state, and even some national candidates, and some of them came. We had an opportunity to question candidates for local offices primarily, but we also got into some statewide and national politics in these forums. Forums were held in conjunction with a statewide convention. Ordinarily, we have regional conventions at in this particular year, but because of the virus, we were unable to hold our in-person meetings, and therefore so we held them on Zoom and interviewed candidates that way. We held the first ever virtual lobby day. Ordinarily, in 2020, we would have visited the legislators in their offices. Instead, we set up Zoom conferences. We held 100 of the 120 lobby visits, involving 2 to 8 or 9 members in each one of the Zoom conferences. We have what we call Kara action teams. These are CATs. They're local organizations that meet to discuss what's happening locally, as well as to connect with the statewide organization. The CAT that I belong to, that is here in the San Gabriel Valley area, is the San Gabriel Valley CAT, meets in Glendora. And I'd like to invite anybody who is free on the third Monday of the month at 9 o'clock to join us. We meet at Denny's, where Grand Avenue goes underneath the 210 freeway. And
During the pandemic.
no, currently we're meeting virtually. We're on Zoom, and if you're interested, I think Merrill, I will forward to you the link that gets you into the meeting. That's done.
I can put that on in the Voorhees voice coming up.
Okay. I'm also going to send you something else that's of interest. We're holding some entertainment kinds of things every other Friday, informational and entertainment. The next important one is going to be on February 5th, I believe, and I'll get you that information. On March 5th, I'm sorry. I'll get you that information also, because this one is going to be very interesting. It's a professional comedian actor who does individual and small group presentations, and he's going to be speaking about a healthy brain. He's a comedian, and his presentation is very, very funny, but it's also very informative, and I'll get that information to you.
Good.
These are the kind of things that we worked at getting. I've lost the picture. Where do I go?
We can still see you.
Yeah,
Just keep on make sure and tell them who it is.
Can I just interrupt and ask a question? What exactly does CARA stand for? When you
That's
say there's a
California,
CAT meeting, what is CAT?
California Alliance for Retired Americans.
Ah, okay, now I know.
It's a state affiliate of the Alliance for Retired Americans, which replaced the Congress of California Seniors at the national level. We are affiliated with them. And they're probably the strongest chapter, but I'm sorry, I've lost my camera and I don't know how to get it back.
We can still see you.
Okay, you can still see me.
Yeah.
We also maintain a legislative committee in Sacramento. This committee monitors the legislation as long as the legislature is in session, focusing on our issues primarily, but we will take issues from wherever people of like minds want to talk to us. And this committee reviews and evaluates every piece of legislation that comes into the California Assembly or the Senate. And once a year, we gather together as at convention and have the members tell us what it is that they're concerned about, what they're interested in. And last year we had 1,000 of our members participate in this selection, and we select 10 issues that are current, as well as the perennial Social Security and Medicare issue that is always at the top of our agenda. The legislative committee, when it analyzes bills, decides whether they're a good idea or a bad idea, whether we should support or not support, and whether we should get active on them. Whenever the committee decides that there is a bill which is either dangerous and needs to be opposed, or very beneficial and needs support, they initiate a letter writing and telephone campaign to nudge or push legislators to do the right thing. They report once a month at our board of directors meeting on the progress in the legislature and where we need to put pressure. In addition to these kinds of things, we conduct educational programs. We have an Empowered Elders Workshop, which introduces people to the Vial of Life, which is a little packet of material that is very beneficial to emergency response people when they respond to a serious emergency medical condition. It gives them a heads up as to what individual things the particular needs. We also, the same Empowered Elders training also talks about your rights in the hospital, the right to object to being released early if you feel that you are either going to be sick if they release you, or you're going to not have proper care at home or whatever. You have a right to appeal the decision to release you, and we show people how. We are teaching some computer technology training, online advocacy, Zoom, Facebook, Twitter, those kinds of things, to seniors, trying to get them to get comfortable with the technology. And we're going to inaugurate emergency preparedness as part of our Empowering Elders Workshop. We have leadership training where we teach embracing diversity, how to communicate with elected officials, outreach, public speaking, how to form a speakers bureau and recruit CARA members. And we have training on issues. We're training now on climate change as it affects seniors, implementing the master plan on aging, which recently was reintroduced at the urging of CARA and some of our affiliates. The California pathway to improve Medicare for all, and creating universal long-term, what is that? I've lost it. I had it. At any rate, these are some of the issues that we address on a regular basis. From there, where we're going now, going into 2021, in addition to all the things that I just talked about that we do on a regular basis, it is the intention to continue all of that, as well as to add things. For instance, building on our experience in the telephone campaign that we ran, we're going to look for candidates, not candidates, because we're not supposed to support candidates. We're going to start looking into issues that we can engage on, so that we can add our weight to to whatever issues are coming up statewide. We will continue the training programs that we have been doing for years now. I wanted to again mention the fact that the CATS, the car action teams, in the San Gabriel and San Bernardino area, one of them meets in Rialto, and one of them meets in Glendora, as I mentioned. We will be holding a convention again this year. We hope we're going to be able to hold the convention in October in some location where we can bring our people together. But if not, then we will hold it virtually, or maybe a hybrid of both some in person and some virtual presentations. We don't know when we're going to be able to gather in 2021, and so we've got a committee working now on the various possibilities, and as things either improve or deteriorate on the COVID line, on the COVID front, we will make a decision probably sometime in mid-September. I mean in mid-summer about what we will do about the convention. Our organizing plan for 2021 is still a work in progress, but our CATs are being encouraged to reach out further to members of the community, and those of you who are able not to have to go to work on Monday, we'd appreciate very much welcome you to our meetings. We will continue some of the issues that we are involved in, the things that we work on a daily basis practically, improving and expanding Medicare and Social Security, working towards a single payer health plan, implement recommendations for the California Master Plan on Aging, work on tax justice efforts. As I mentioned earlier, we lost a tax justice initiative last year, but we were encouraged by the fact that we got the biggest number of supporting votes in spite of massive expenditure on the part of the other side to defeat the measure. That was encouraging, and we think that we might be able to get it started again. We are concerned and have been since 2007 about the I forget what the initials stand for, but the lowest level of grants for people who do not have a regular source of income, pulling the grant level back up to where it was, at least where it was in 2007, and reinstalling a COLA, protecting pensions and other retirement approaches, working on affordable housing development, creation of universal long-term support services. That's what the LTSS stands for, yeah. Renter protection, including protection for mobile homeowners, drug transparency and lowering drug prices, preparing for climate change, the kinds of things that we need to be putting into place in order to survive the massive climate disturbances that occur when we see Texas frozen over like an ice cube, and hurricanes and tornadoes and other savage storm disturbances. The massive fires that we had in California this year. All of those things need to be discussed and addressed. Regulating nursing homes and improving working conditions and the quality of care. Bridging the digital divide. Training and access for seniors and people with disabilities, and addressing issues of isolation and loneliness among seniors, educating seniors about fraud and scams, offering more empowered elder workshops. These are the things that we have been doing on a regular basis and intend to continue. I think probably I've bent your ears enough with this. If there are questions, I'd be very happy to try to answer them. The material I'm going to send to Merrill has to do with our every 2 weeks putting on a program that you might be interested in. So that's, oh, I have one other thing. We do all of this practically on a shoestring. The grant money that originally kept us very, very healthy has dried up. Either people are not interested in funding senior programs, or organizations that were funding senior programs have gone out of business. At any rate, we've been scrambling to keep up. The labor community, in many instances, has been very, very helpful and very generous. But we can't do it alone on what we're managing to get from the labor community. So I would like, at an appropriate time, to propose a dues increase from our current $100 to $200. But I want to give you time enough to think about it before I ask you to consider the question.
Okay, Louis. We do have a question from Chris.
Sure.
So, Louis, I think in the interest of time, it might be better if you just fielded your own questions, or if people would just unmute themselves and ask, and let's see how it goes if we're not going to be talking all over one another. My question concerns the proposition. I assume that you're referring to Proposition 15.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I'd like to hear your diagnosis of what happened and then what's next.
Well, what happened was that we were, as always, we were met with a deluge of money spent on television and radio and wherever else they could pour money to essentially lie about what proposition did in its language, and we had the language and it was available to anybody who wanted to look at it. But you don't get that kind of response from voters usually. It was just a fantastic deluge of lies that defeated the proposition, and we think we can overcome that. And we're looking to form another coalition that will go back at it and see where we go.
Maybe we should just add, if everyone doesn't remember which one was 15, this was basically to exempt private residences and small businesses. They would retain their the current structure in terms of property taxes, but for large corporations, I think the cutoff was what, $200,000 a year or something. For larger corporations, there would be a gradual increase in property taxes. And
actually, it was determined on the basis of the value of the corporation, and it was anything above $3 million.
$3 million, okay.
Assessed valuation would be would be, anything below $3 million would be exempt from the proposition, but
Thank
anything
you.
for $3 million would.
Yeah, which is really important. And they basically lied. They made people think that individual residences would have their property taxes
Right.
going up, that small businesses would have their, with far less than $3 million would be affected. And this was really simply not true. And so the question is, how do we overcome this sort of distortion and, in a future effort?
I think you need to be nastier next time, Louis.
Well, yeah, that was my opinion to begin with, but I was overruled.
Yeah, I think that they were very effective. I didn't even hear that many ads for it because I don't watch that kind of TV. I only watch cable, but I just thought your ads were very nice and theirs were very deceitful and misleading and nasty.
Yeah, well,
True.
possibly, what was your name, please?
Carol.
Oh, yeah, Carol.
The one who paid your dues.
I called them today and asked them if maybe they had given me the wrong information about the dues, and I couldn't get anybody on the phone.
Who'd
But
you call?
our office is only staffed 3 days a week, and I don't know what 3 days those are. That's one of the reasons that I'd like to see a dues increase to help us pay for more help. Actually, our structure is such, we have an executive director who hasn't had a raise in a decade. We have 3 lobbyists, 3 organizers, one in the southern California, and the other in the middle Southern California, and the other one in Northern California. And that's our staff, that one office person, and every once in a while we hire a consultant to do some extra work, but we've got a very, very small staff, but yet we've got over 200 affiliates besides labor unions, and almost 1 million members on the rolls that we communicate with. I don't know how many more we have that actually are members in name only, but we've got. If we can only get the recognition for the work that we do, we're a very powerful organization.
I agree, Louis, and I think it's a muscle that we haven't flexed, and maybe this is an opportunity that we could maybe look towards that. And I think we will revisit the dues when we talk about budgets and see where we're at. But if there are no other questions, we'd like to let's give you a big thank you for your.
John has a question. John Forney.
I'm sorry?
John Forney has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. John, where are you? John, you have a question? There you are. Sorry.
I'm right here, Sam. Yeah, Louis, how much does your organization have to fight against AARP, or are they more cooperative than I think they might be?
They're more cooperative than they used to be. However, we don't sell insurance.
Good for you.
We don't sell anything. We don't take corporate sponsors. We used to be sponsored by one of the electric companies, but they objected to our positions on some of their shenanigans, and so they stopped supporting us. And we used to get funds from Kaiser Permanente, but they don't like our single payer position, and we refuse to move on it. So we don't get any money from them anymore. But we're a grassroots organization, and AARP can be very helpful at times, but they have been in the past, and they may again in the future been willing to negotiate on Social Security, for instance. And we're in the world that we're going to negotiate with any of those themes on Social Security. We're going to keep on pushing it, and it's a very popular program, and it is healthy, and it continues to be healthy. And if it starts getting unhealthy, then we have positions that would strengthen it, kind of like going where the money is. The pandemic has hit poor people very, very hard, and people on Social Security very, very hard. But the rich are still getting richer. And that's where the money is, and that's where we need to go to shore up Social Security. Any rate.
Well, the insurance they sell has not always been a very good actor.
Well, I don't know what, I don't know anything about the company. I see their ads periodically, but what I know about them was they were willing to sell Social Security back in the Bush era, and I've never forgiven them for that. And I don't think
Like I say, that they've not been a good actor.
they have a when those seniors who were active became outraged with things that they were doing, they split off their business and from their outreach to seniors and cleaned up a lot of their act in that respect, but I still don't trust them.
All right. Seeing no other questions, again, let's give Louis a big hand and thank him for the update and presentation. And in return, as I mentioned, Louis, we will discuss it with Carol and our budget and seeing how we could we'll keep that in mind and increasing our dues.
You might thank the person who was supposed to do the presentation for the opening of the meeting for making it possible for me to run off at the mouth.
Well, thank you again, Louis. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I enjoyed it, and it's something that I felt I needed to do. Yeah, I am a representative on their executive board.
So with that, as I said earlier, I posted the meeting days and the Zoom link to the two upcoming executive board meetings, and there'll be more information that Meryl will provide in terms of some of the questions that to help us in identifying some of the direction for the club. But we definitely want your input, and we are looking forward to getting the club going in a direction that I think is more reflective of where we are now as an organization. So with that, are there any last comments before we call it quits and I don't know, go brew some tea and go to sleep?
And nobody is going to Cancun this weekend.
No Cancun trips?
Oh, why not? You'd be in excellent company.
Cancun is actually probably nice now that somebody's not there, but all right, folks. Well, thank you very much for your time. And again, I apologize for the presentation that we didn't have, but we thank Louis for his time. So again, folks, we'll see you at the next month's presentation with Mayor Sandoval, and hopefully also at the upcoming executive committees for your input. All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.